Pardon the interruption, but I'm Mike Tony. Scientists are studying fungus that's 99 million years old.
And Tony Kornheiser, I know. It came from my feet. I know.
Yeah, one can hope not. One can hope that's not.
Do you believe they can do that? Do you believe they can pinpoint that something is 99 million years old?
Yeah. Like archaeological finds, I'm much more interested in that than fungus.
Yeah. Like, you don't even believe the Florida man stories. How could you believe this? Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Barry Bonds gets a statue, Lionel Messi faces PSG, and should the Rays use their tiny ballpark in the playoffs? But we begin today with news that the Toronto Raptors and their longtime team president, Masai Ujiri, have parted ways. No reason was given. Ujiri put together the Raptors team that won the NBA championship in 2019. The other night, Ujiri ran the draft that brought Toronto Colin Murray-Boyles from South Carolina with the 9th pick. Wilbon, what is your reaction to this news?
Well, Tony, at first I was sad. I guess I still am, because I'm not going to sit here and pretend. Over the years, I've become pretty good friends with Masai Ujiri. And I have come to admire him, not for what he did necessarily with the Toronto Raptors, which is give them a national championship. I was there for a lot of what happened with Toronto in 2019 and Kawhi Leonard. But what he has done internationally for basketball, what he has done very specifically on the continent of Africa, in terms of giving young men hope, and it's mostly young men, it'll become young women soon enough, but hope and some extra direction and infrastructure and things that were not in existence for basketball on the continent at all. And Masai has been at the forefront of that with a cadre of lieutenants now and people with basketball in Africa. And the NBA is involved and other sorts of organizations. And I have seen that. He's invited me to go, and I haven't gone yet, and I should have been. But I see what Masai Ujiri does. And when I look at a guy like Malawach, who Masai told me about years ago when he was like 15, and I see the opportunity created. And that's a much bigger picture, I know, than we're talking about the Raptors. But there's a new owner in Toronto. I don't know how that would work. I don't know if he knows how that would work. But Masai Ujiri, his phone's not silent. Somebody's going to find him. And if they want to get somebody to run a club and be great at it, he's your guy.
So I don't know Ujiri at all, but I know that he made one of the greatest trades in the history of the NBA. When he brought Kawhi Leonard on a one-year deal, in essence, because Kawhi Leonard was going to be a free agent at the end of the year, brought him to Toronto. At the end of that year, Kawhi is the finals MVP, and Toronto has won the NBA championship. When he left for free agency, that began a slow decline. This year, Toronto was 30-52. But Kawhi Leonard, you know, he played 60 regular season games, but all 24 playoff games. No load management during the playoffs for Kawhi. Averaged 39 minutes a game. I don't even know who's on Toronto anymore. I know Kawhi is not. I know Siakam is not. I haven't paid all that much attention. But in terms of Ujiri, if he wants another job, he'll get another job, obviously, because he made this, He took a place that can't get free agents. He made them competitive and all of that. The only thing I read with great interest, Mike, was he makes $15 million a year. That's a lot more money than I thought he was making. And maybe the new owners said, whoa, that's a lot more money than we want to pay this guy. Maybe.
Tony, their jobs and their club jobs and team jobs. And there ought to be league and industry interest in Masai Ujiri. Because he's that kind of influencer. He's got that kind of sober judgment and intellect. Basketball needs him prominently out front. And so hopefully there are people smart enough in the industry to realize that. We'll move to baseball
his team
now.
His team right now is irrelevant. I mean, they're like Charlotte.
Well,
and they're like
Tony,
Portland,
they were 23 and 22 on the back end of that season, and they're coming with some young players. Everybody doesn't do it like the Knicks and the Lakers. Some people, it takes time. We'll move to baseball, where the Giants announced they'll soon erect a statue to Barry Bonds. Bonds played for the Giants for 15 of his 22 seasons, hitting 586 of his 762 home runs with them in San Francisco. The Giants currently have 5 statues outside Oracle Park honoring Hall of Famers Willie Mays, Willie McCovey, Juan Marichal, Gaylord Perry, and Orlando Cepeda. Wow. Bonds has not made the Hall due to steroid allegations. So, Tony, should anyone have a problem with this statue?
Well, should is an interesting word because it creates a value judgment. I think there are a lot of baseball people who would say that Barry Bonds doesn't deserve something so prominent as a statue. I mean, it is likely, I won't go any further than that he used steroids, that he cheated the game. So there's a large group of people who will have company if they say he shouldn't have a statue, just like they would say Mark McGwire shouldn't have a statue in St. Louis and Alex Rodriguez shouldn't have a statue anywhere he played. As far as I'm concerned, if the San Francisco Giants want to give him a statue, that's fine. That's fine with me. This is not Cooperstown here. This is San Francisco, where Barry Bonds is beloved, is and was beloved, okay? His total of home runs is higher than anybody on the Giants, and as you mentioned, they had Mays and McCovey. And he hit his home runs in this park. All right, he splashed them in the water in this park. I have been told today that a lot of people are saying they should build the statue and put it in McCovey Cove. I would be for that.
Yeah, Tony, I don't need or look for unanimity in anything. We live in a complex world. People have different feelings. I know some of those older baseball players specifically, Hall of Famers, who object vehemently to Bonds and the others that you mentioned in steroid use, the perception of it, the reality of it, what it has done to the numbers in baseball. The numbers, as you and I talk about all the time, are much more important to the fabric of the game than the other sports in North America that we pay attention to.
That's right.
But I spent a lot of time in the Bay Area in the last 20 years, a lot. And a lot of it, most of it has been dealing with the Warriors. But you cannot be right there with that stadium and that ballpark nearly abut one another and not know how beloved Barry Bonds is widely, even with the exception of the people who say, hold on. So a statue is fine. It's fine. Well, boy, I don't know. There's going to be a number of statues, Staples and Oracle. I don't know who's going to have the most statues, but it's fine, Tony. There's not going to be unanimity, and I'm not looking for it.
I don't want to be a moralist about this. I believe that Barry Bonds took steroids, and I believe that whatever baseball does to punish the people that they believe broke the rules, Barry Bonds should face that too. But the people, as you say, in San Francisco, they love him. And he's a baseball player. He's not a retired general. It's entertainment. Let's not go nuts here. Let's stay with baseball. At the moment, the Tampa Bay Rays are the first wild card team in the American League. Ken Rosenthal of The Athletic reports that Major League Baseball has held conversations with the Rays about where the team could play home playoff games. Their current temporary stadium is the 10,000-seat Yankee Spring Training Stadium, Steinbrenner Field. Baseball is concerned that stadium might not be able to handle all the tickets baseball itself gives away for playoff games, and they are concerned the broadcast facilities may not be up to playoff standards. Wilbon, if you were the Rays,
after I consulted with people in my building, including the players whose pockets are enhanced or hurt by the revenue produced by the gate in the postseason. After I had those conversations, depending on what I was told, I'd probably tell Major League Baseball to go to hell. And that's just me. So I've got this stadium there. I'm building a place. I represent as a team. I get to the postseason pretty frequently, something like 6 times in the last 8 years. I'm not doing this for Major League Baseball. Figure out how to fix some cameras somewhere else. Too bad. I remember when baseball wanted to Bigfoot the Cubs and say, you don't have lights at Wrigley Field in the mid-'80s, early 80s. You're going to have to put these games at Comiskey Park. And believe me, I would have walked outside with a poster that said Major League Baseball go to hell instead of moving those games to the south side. I would have. So that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, it's glad to see you're not angry today. My feeling is if I were the Tampa Bay Rays, I would want to play my playoff games in this field. I've just played 81 regular season games in this field. I played them there because my stadium was torn apart by a hurricane, and baseball put me in this particular field. If I'm good enough to make the playoffs, I want to play those games on that field. I don't really want a neutral site. It's for two reasons. One, it's named Steinbrenner Field, and he won a bunch of World Series. And two, it's actually in Tampa. And we live in Tampa. We are the Tampa Bay Rays,
not Atlanta.
Right? So why do I want to go
Miami.
somewhere else? Right.
Yeah.
So, I understand baseball's point. I understand that, maybe the broadcast facilities aren't that great. I agree with you. Temporarily fix them. They're broadcasting games every single night there. Temporarily make them better. I understand all of the things that it's only 10,000 people and they give away a lot of tickets. Give away fewer tickets. You're talking about giving away tickets.
Right.
You and I are on the same page on this, that it may hurt the gate because it's only 10,000 seats, and that may hurt the players. My solution
Baseball's point is more money.
For baseball should underwrite that. I don't think you move this team. And by the way, let's be fair about this. They don't draw squat. They haven't even sold out all their home games at a 10,000 seat stadium. Stop it. Let's take a break. Coming up, two-time defending champion Carlos Alcaraz is not the number one seed in the men's draw at Wimbledon. What is the word for that?
And how big would it be if Lionel Messi and Inter Miami were to beat PSG on Sunday? Pretty huge.
I don't understand this. Tampa Bay is a really good team year in, year out. Time to hit you with some very merry vocabulary. Even though, as you can see, I am not wearing my doctor's jacket.
Yeah, where's your jacket?
I left it home.
Where is it?
Dope. Left it home. I'm an idiot. What's first? I left it home.
It's blank that Carlos Alcaraz is not the number one seed in the men's draw at Wimbledon.
My word or words are head in the sand. Yannick Sinner is the number one seed there, even though Alcaraz just beat him in the French Open final, and even though Alcaraz has beaten him, Mike, the last 5 times that they've played. Because these seedings are produced by, I don't know, some algorithm somewhere that has no relationship to reality. Alcaraz has won the last 2 Wimbledons. If he goes for a three-peat, you know who he joins? He joins Borg and Sampras and Federer and Djokovic. That's it. That's the list. Only the greatest players at Wimbledon of all time. Sinner's not won at Wimbledon. Sinner hasn't been to the finals at Wimbledon. This is a bad seeding. It's wrong.
You know what, Tony? I don't disagree with your reasoning, but my words are just fine. It doesn't matter. Tony, if they play according to form, they're going to meet each other in another final, just like they met at Roland Garros. They're going to meet at Wimbledon. They're going to meet 1 versus 2. And for all the nerds out there who want to point out, well, his draw is more difficult. You don't know who's going to be playing that well on either side of the draw. You don't know where the upsets are going to occur and change who you project one or the other to play. It's just fine. As long as he's 1 or 2. No, I don't want to see him 7 or even 3, where you have a much tougher draw in a round of 16 or the quarterfinals. I don't want to see that. But if these two get to meet, you know that's what we're all wanting, right? Don't you want to see them again playing the final? Okay, it's seeded for that. Just fine.
What's next?
If Lionel Messi and Inter Miami beat PSG on Sunday, it would be blank.
It would be seismic. I'm not the world's greatest soccer person, but I'm up to speed on this. PSG just won the Champions League. That's an all-star league. It has to go to get better. You have to go to Europe. Inter Miami, not in Europe. Inter Miami is here, and it's in the MLS. And if my statistics are correct, Mike, they have the MLS. So you wouldn't figure they can play with PSG. Now, they got some great old players, and I emphasize old. Chief among them is Messi, who used to play at PSG. And they look good in pink. They're really good. But it's hard for me to believe that they can win this game.
Well, Tony, they can win the game because we don't even know how seriously PSG is taking this. This ain't Champions League. This is, not the league in France. It's not any of that. It's not World Cup, even though it is this sort of new cup that's out there that it really is important kind of for the first time. But my word, even if Miami's to beat a PSG team that's not really fully engaged, it is going to be newsworthy in America. That's what it would be. And people in the United States will probably overreact and say, aha, we beat PSG, which is just coming off of winning Champions League. Okay, we can overreact like that. That's fair, by the way. And it's okay to give it a certain amount of hype. I don't know how seriously, though, PSG is going to be taking this team in pink, except maybe they look and see Messi and go, oh, it's the old man. Maybe we'll pay attention for 90 minutes.
Who do you think is going to win? Who is going to win?
I think PSG is going to win.
Me too. That's the final word. Though. Let's take one last break. Still to come. Could we see Cooper Flagg play point guard for the Mavericks?
And baseball is about to shine a spotlight on Cal Raleigh, who's getting a lot of slurpage lately.
Big dumper.
A lot of slurpage.
Yeah, big dumper. You didn't tell any. Might not be as impactful as Jaden Daniels was to that offense, but the Washington defense was miles better. They allowed 127 fewer points this past season than the previous season. They were 32nd and last in points allowed and yards allowed in 2023. This past season under Dan Quinn, they were 18th in points allowed, 13th in yards allowed. Wagner is back on a one-year deal. He made second-team All-Pro in Washington. 6 different times he has been first-team All-Pro, and 10 times he's been to the Pro Bowl. Wagner is headed for Canton.
He is, Tony. I don't want to make this Reggie White going from Philadelphia to Green Bay, but he's having an impact in a second place. And if that defense gets better and leads that team to where a lot of people think they can go, Wagner's going to be a big part of that.
Happy anniversary, Tony Parker. On this day 24 years ago, the French point guard was selected by San Antonio with the 28th pick in the NBA draft. Parker played on 4 NBA title teams and was once Finals MVP. Parker is the most successful French basketball player in NBA history. Of course, Victor Wembanyama could change that. This past season, there were 14 French players on NBA rosters, including Rudy Gobert, Bilal Koulibaly, and the number 1 and number 2 picks in the 2024 draft, Zachary Lissachet of Atlanta and Alex Sarr of Washington. This year, 3 more Frenchmen were chosen in the draft's first round and 3 in the second round. Only the United States and Canada have more NBA players than France.
Tony, he may be very French, and he is, but his daddy grew up on the south side of Chicago, hooping in the playgrounds there. I wanted to be like his dad, like Tony Parker's dad. I told Tony Parker that some years ago. He's like, are you serious? Like, yes. And Tony Parker's brother was the point guard at Northwestern. And he sounds like a guy from the South Side. Where's Tony? How come Tony sounds like he's from Paris and his brother and father don't? What's up with that?
Happy trails, Griffin Canning. The Mets starter appeared to suffer an Achilles injury while on the mound against the Braves last night. Canning is 7-3 with a 3.77 ERA this season and now seems sure to join fellow starters Kodai Senga, Tyler McGill, and Sean Manaea on the injured list. On the upside for the Mets, they beat the Braves for the second straight day, splitting the 4-game series and returning to first place in the NL East, a half a game ahead of the Phillies.
Yeah, you don't want to see this whole Achilles thing spread from the NBA to other sports. Just hate seeing that.
All right, let's go to the big finish if we could.
Let's do it.
Let's hear the music and go. Jason Kidd wants to see Cooper Flagg play some point guard early on. Do you?
No, but I hadn't thought of it, but that's what Jason Kidd does. He sees things. So, okay. Cal Raleigh accepted a spot in the home run derby. Does that make sense to you?
It's great. He's leading the majors in it, and apparently his dad is going to throw to him, and that's going to be fun to watch. Arena Sabalenka, who you've been critical of, and Coco Gauff posted videos of them doing TikTok dances together from Wimbledon. Are you surprised at that?
Not really, because Sabalenka's bad behavior seems confined to the court, and she seems completely engaging the other times. Not really. Caitlin Clark is out again tonight. You concerned?
Yeah, of course I'm concerned. The second time she's been out for one reason or another this year. She's the most important player in the WNBA. Last one, NHL draft, is tonight. What are you most excited to see?
Well, I mean, Matthew Schaefer is reported likely to go number 1 to the Islanders. I want to see who the Blackhawks take with the 3rd pick, unless they deal it. That's just me.
I really wish that Tony Parker had said to you, "You cannot be serious." That would be funny. We're out of time. We'll try to do better the next time, and I'm Tony Kornheiser.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Have a great weekend, knuckleheads. And now, Tony Parker would never.
Teenager, a guy by the name of Giannis Antetokounmpo, and certainly that helped fuel Giannis's ascension to the superstar that he's been for the last decade.
Flag scored or assisted on 29.9 points per game in one season at Duke, so why not give him the keys to the franchise? Tim McMahon on the scene for us in Dallas.
All right, Wilbon, we both lived in Washington, D.C. for about 45 years now, so we're qualified to do this. Who is the most important person in D.C. sports history?
Tony, as you know, there's quite a few nominees. And if we start with just players, all right, because that's where most people will think players, you can go all the way back. I'm going to go back to Walter Johnson and Josh Gibson. They'd be nominated. And then Wes Unseld and Darryl Green. I could say Riggins and Theismann, I could, but I'm going to put Darryl Green because of his 20-year service above those guys slightly. Alex Ovechkin, who won the Cup. Sugar Ray Leonard, who a lot of people would not think of. But if we say person, then I include Joe Gibbs and John Thompson. That's a quick list, and I don't even know where I would go. I can't choose between those people. Did I miss somebody, though, on your list?
I think you can put Patrick Ewing there for what he did at Georgetown.
Okay.
For leading Georgetown to a national championship. Yep. I would put John Riggins above anybody else who played on the Washington football team, including Sammy Baugh, and even he's
Sammy
before
Baugh.
our time. As
Sammy
Walter
Baugh
Johnson.
should have him.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a whole wide list here, and I think it's right to include coaches as well. If I had to pick the greatest accomplishment of any of these people, I think the sort of first top of mind thing would be Alex Ovechkin because he's got the record for goals in the NHL. But honestly, Mike, you and I have had this discussion. I would pick Joe Gibbs. Joe Gibbs won 3 Super Bowls with 3 different quarterbacks, none of whom is in the Hall of Fame. And there's not a coach in the history of anything that can claim that. And that's probably where I would land if I had to, yeah.
And Tony, Joe Gibbs, he's somehow underrated. Joe even won 3 Super Bowls, went to 4. But I'm going to also mention John Thompson because he affected Washington, D.C. in a way that I think no other coach or athlete affected Washington, D.C. I'm talking about the district proper. A son of the District of Columbia didn't come in, as you know very well because you knew him well. So those guys, Gibbs and Thompson, for you and me, may go at the top of the list ahead of even all those great athletes. And by the way, Elgin Baylor, if we're talking about produced by Washington, D.C. Yeah. It's a great roster. It really is. That's it. We're done. Back to you.